Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Let's look at some more changes. I want to start with Babu. Let's go to the top. Down forward 1, 2. This is your 14 frame to impact mid poke, by the way, and its damage extension. The extension is mid. Currently, this is a little bit too risky for the small reward that you get for connecting with it. But they've had a look at that, and you're going to be 2 frames better on block and hit with this string now. Minus 10 on block, so just barely punishable. And plus 6 on hit, which is very handsome, and you're going to be able to continue confident offense after connecting with this. But I want to jump ahead now to another interesting buff. If we look at the new moves down there, the second new move is down forward 1, 1 plus 2. So a new extension to this same string. Typically, I would guess that this would be a high that you could mix the mid, the down forward 1, 2 with. But because it's a 1 plus 2 notation, I think it's going to be a mid, because 1 plus 2 for Bob usually means that he's attacking with his belly, and it's difficult to do like a belly attack that's a duckable high. So my guess is that this is going to be a knockdown mid and quite powerful, but punishable on block. And it could mean, if it's a natural, that you have a very powerful block punisher for 14 frames here that you could use at the wall for wall splats and everything. So it's a pretty big overhaul and buff to this string overall, and I think it's very nice because currently down forward 1 is just categorically worse than back 2 in terms of mid pokes, and so it's nice that this string saw some attention. Next, down back 3 plus 4, 4. That's the move where he trips you know the low and then kicks you one time. And this is, we can not be entirely sure if these damage numbers are correct, because the current damage numbers that Namco listed in their notes were wrong. I play tested all these changes. I mean, I don't have the changes, but I play tested, the way the counters are right now, and they had the wrong damage numbers, but hopefully the new numbers are correct, and it's now going to do 28, which I think is fine. It could have done even more. Remember, this move staggers when it gets blocked, so Bob is going to get launch punished for using it, and a lot of those lows in the game, Falling Leaf and Demo Man and all the rest of it are moves that are going to do more damage and knock down, whereas this move does not. So it's fair that this move is more powerful. It could have been even slightly more powerful, but because of the big risk that you take. But this is fine. Bob has access to the Hell Sweep as well, so it's not like he's starved for knockdown lows. Next, forward 3 plus 4, probably the move that saw the biggest buff of all the moves. And I'm very happy about this, because forward 3 plus 4 is a move that is neglected and not used by a lot of people right now. But it's a move that I discovered a while back and that I use a lot. I love this move already, and it's so much better now. What it is Bob jumps into the air and then does like a bicycle kick, comes down with both his legs. And when it connects currently, you spike them on the ground and you get a guaranteed back 3 for a total of, I think it's 44 damage, so very good. Because he jumps into the air, this also has low crush, which is very powerful, and so this spells an extremely good Oki tool, right? The opponent's on the ground, you do this. If they do a low get up kick, you're going to hit them. If they get up crouching because it's mid, you're going to hit them. And if they stay on the ground, it actually, clips them and does some damage on the ground as well. So very, very good. There's going to be plus minus 0 on block now, which is a huge improvement. You can just continue offense even on block. And my big tip is try this move into down forward 2 or standing 4 at the start of the new season, and you're going to see a lot of counter hits happen because people won't be used to this change yet. It's one of those things that is going to be very, very powerful the first few weeks of the new season. It also saw a damage buff, and it had one more potential buff going by the notes. Currently, it has a thing where the first hit, kind of like those Lars moves we talked about yesterday, the first hit can push them back a bit and make the second hit inconsistent, and it looks like that is something that they've had a look at as well. So this move is going to be a lot better, and it was already, in my opinion, very good. So very interesting. Definitely something to experiment with Bob if you're not using it a lot in your repertoire already. And my big tip is apply it for Oki, because it's an amazing Oki tool. Kind of similar to how we use back 3 with Miguel. Next, crouch dash 3-2. The crouch dash for Bob is seeing a little bit of an overhaul. It's an area of Bob that Namco want you to focus more on and care more about. The crouch dash 3-2 is when he jumps into the air with a knee attack and then punches you back down. It's currently not super useful. You can duck the second hit because it's a high if you block the first hit. almost nobody does the duck because not a lot of people know about this move. You don't see it that often because it's not amazing. Mainly it gets used for like floor breaks on the floor break stage, or maybe as an occasional mix up for the hell sweep. But this is going to do 7 more damage now, which means that it's a lot more powerful, and it's 6 frames better on block at -3, which I think is fair because again it is duckable and you can launch him if you duck it. So this is great, but this move becoming more powerful means that more people will use it, and that means that people will become used to the fact that it's duckable and start ducking it a lot more. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, I want to jump ahead to the new moves. Crouch dash 3-4 is your completely new crouch dash move. This is the move we saw in the initial trailer. It's the new spin move that he has, and this is probably most likely going to be a mid mix-up for crouch dash 3-2. So you have a mid mix-up for this duckable high, and so they're going to synergize, and you have a much more powerful package from your crouch dash here. So they want you to care more about crouch dash, and it's honestly a pretty big improvement. Like 7 more damage is huge. 6 frames better on block is pretty huge. So really interesting, and you're going to be crouch dashing a lot more with Bob in the new season. Next, while standing 1-3, that's the mid mix up to while standing 1-2, which is the knockdown move where you get guaranteed back 3. It's currently powerful and good already. It's punishable though, but this is going to do 5 more damage, so it's a big damage buff to this, which in turn buffs your while standing 1-2, which you know is a move that I love, and you get the guaranteed back 3, and it's a lot of damage, and it's 1 frame better on block, so really interesting. Some buffs to full crouch here. And then while standing 4, this is a deceptively big buff. While standing 4 is of course your 11 frame block punisher from full crouch, and Bob has a very good 14 frame launcher from full crouch for punishment, but he doesn't really have anything good at all for 10 to 13. And so they've given you a better while standing 4 here, so you can feel like you can do something powerful when you block low pokes. Bob was currently a little bit weak in the legs in that sense, and now you're probably going to get a hit spark there, even is my guess. You have a better hitbox, and so you're going to feel like you're a little bit more dangerous, and your opponent has to be a little bit more careful about, you know, stacking punishable low pokes on you, because you have something, you know, you can do that is at least a little bit scary, kind of like how Miguel has a very healthy while standing 4 with a hit spark right now. And I think this is a really good change. I think it's deceptively big. And while standing 4 is also a move that you can do out of your crouch dash for a mid mix up, for example the hell sweep, and so it's another buff to crouch dash as well, so very nice. Next, a little bit of a change to your belly move. So forward 1+2 the power crush, and up forward 1+2 1+2, and this is just like a bug fix. It's going to do more pushback on hit, but that's because sometimes what happens is you sort of clip through them, and that's just a little bug fix. It's a kind of thing that they've done across a lot of characters in the roster, so it's not a big buff, but it means that those frustrating situations where you cross the opponent up unintentionally by using these moves are now not going to occur as often. And then forward 3, which is a combo filler that you use right now. It's the jump kick, has new counter hit properties, and we don't know what they are going to be. I sort of speculated that it's going to be a counter hit launcher, and if it is, it's an amazing buff, and this is going to be a great move for you. Who knows? Currently it sort of knocks them down, blows them away when you hit them on counter hit. But if this turns into a counter hit launcher, it's going to be a very, very, very good move. It's safe. You can do it from a range and fish for counter hits, and it's going to be potentially very good. But it just says new properties on counter hits, so we don't know what those properties are, and that's why I've turned it yellow. So in conclusion, Bob basically hasn't been nerfed at all. He was not a great character, but he was decent, and he's become better at almost everything he likes to do. So I think he's going to be better in the new season. Nothing that is going to completely, propel him to the top tier, but higher quality of life, more damage, better crouch dash. So overall, I think Bob is going to be much more rewarding to play in the new season, and I'm looking forward to using him. Okay, let's talk about Eliza, another character that I think Namco might have unintentionally completely ruined, but I might be wrong, and I really hope I am. Let's go through it. Quarter circle back 3, which is your dive kick 3, 6 frames better on block. It's -13 now. It was -19 before, so that's a nice change. Not that much to say about it. Quarter circle back 4, which is your dive kick 4, 1 more damage, and that's pretty big because you do a lot of dive kick 4, it's repeatable, and you use it in combos, so it's going to lead to slightly more combo damage. And if you hit with this move just 5 times in a single round, it's a lot more net damage overall. So a small damage buff to a move that is this repeatable is a pretty nice damage buff actually, but it's not amazing, and the properties of the quarter circle back 4 are going to be the same overall, and you're going to use it in the exact same way. Forward 3, that's the high crushing long range mid poke where she takes a big instep. If you get a counter hit, you can do an instant EX dive kick for a full combo. This is going to impact 2 frames faster at 16. It was 18 before, which is a little bit too slow to make this move really useful, but very good Eliza players seem to use this move a lot, and they're going to use it even more now that it's faster, a much more viable mid poke. It has great range and, like I said, crush properties already, so this is going to be a staple for poking for Eliza going forward. I think it's a very good move now. Down forward 3 is your homing move where you jump into the air and spin. It's already a great wall splatting Inoki tool, and this has been turned into a wall bounce move. And just like we said with Miguel, the way I wanted Namco to design a wall bounce to make it more viable, to make it more relevant, is to stick the property on moves that are already used for wall splatting, moves that are already good at wall splatting. Otherwise they become irrelevant, the wall splat or the wall bounce moves. And they've done that again here. Down forward 3 is already great at the wall, and now that you get a wall bounce, it's going to be even more damage. So it's great for Oki when you're anywhere near the wall, and because it's got homing properties, when people are trying to walk away from the wall to the sides, you can catch them with this and bounce them off the wall and collect big damage. So very, very good change, and this move is already fantastic. While running 1 or forward 1, 4 frames better on block, and it's now +6, and it has better tracking. This move is kind of slow and not really amazing. It pushes the opponent away so far when they do block it that it's it's not similar to Claudio's running 2 and Elisa's running 2, and definitely not Dragunov's running 2, where if they do block it you get to follow up with stuff. This kind of gets blocked and they just get pushed away, and you don't really get to follow up on those plus frames, but it is a pretty cool move, and you have +6 now, which is pretty big. So gonna have to test whether there's some space to actually apply a mix-up after that connects, but the better tracking is great as well. It makes sense, the animation, she's sort of doing a 360 and spinning around with her hand, so it's a decent buff. This is a big buff. The next one, EX dive kick, is safe on block now. I think it should have always been safe on block, but -9, so very, very good. You can gamble on this move now, and even if you do get blocked, it's not going to be a huge risk for you. It's not a high damage launcher. It's not even going to lead to full combo damage most of the time, and it is something that you have to spend meter on, so I think it's fair for this move to be safe. And it's honestly a pretty big buff. EX dive kick used to be one of her best moves, then it got nerfed, and now it's being brought back a little bit, so that makes sense to me. And then another interesting change is that Moonglide and all its different transitions, can go into crouch by holding down. And so Eliza's pretty good from crouch. You can do, special cancelable moves down there. You have the down 4, you have the down 3 that you can go into DPs from and everything else. So she kind of likes to be in full crouch for while standing. She has the while standing 2, amazing move, for example. So potentially really interesting, and you're going to be able to do some tricksy stuff with full crouch mix-ups from Moonglide, kind of similar to how some players do with Harrier from Katarina right now. But now we need to get to the nerfs, and it might look like there's a lot of green on the screen here, and overall Eliza is better, but these 2 nerfs that I'm about to talk about, I mean, they're red, but I should have sort of made them the shade of bleedy diarrhea, because they are like the 2 things that you could not nerf about this character. They are the 2 things that you did not want to touch if you wanted this character to be viable at all in Season 3. I said in my long tutorial on Eliza that I made recently that one of the reasons that this character works is the fact that forward 3/4 jails, and if this move did not jail, this character would not be usable. She would be so much worse that she would be completely non-viable. I said that in a recent video on a guide on Eliza, and this move is no longer gonna jail. It's the biggest nerf you could possibly give to her, and it's very strange. We're going to talk more about it when we get to new moves, of course, but this move is not only good from a range, it has important synergies with the rest of your move list, because you're throwing fireballs that causes people to walk to the sides, and then you use this as a long range homing move to catch people who are walking to the sides. Very important synergy. It's also important because it's a long range launcher which you can use for carry, and then you can take your opponent and carry them towards the wall. And Eliza wants to be at the wall because it's one of the only places in the game where she gets to deal decent damage. And one of the ways she gets to deal decent damage at the wall is by using her quarter circle back 1+2, cancelling into it specifically after a down 3. And this move has taken a damage nerf of 5 points. So one of the only moves in your entire arsenal that does good damage has a big damage nerf to it. So these two big nerfs are so big, they've completely homed in on and attacked the few things that Eliza was really good at, and it's extremely damaging for this character. I mean, it's huge. And if we look at the new moves, we can tell that there is a new move, forward 3-3, which is obviously supposed to be a mid mix-up for the forward 3-4. However, I think that this is going to be a knockdown mid that is punishable on block, because that's the way that Namco tends to balance duckable highs in a string like this. And if that's the case, the only big difference here is maybe your opponent will stand block you a little bit more often, being cautious, and sometimes you're just going to eat a block punish for doing the mid extension and trying it. So, you know, sometimes you're going to get ducked and launched, sometimes you're going to get block punished. If this is amazing, if it's like a safe normal hit mid launcher or something like that, then it's going to mitigate that big nerf a lot, and the character might still see some use, but I'm skeptical. I don't think that's what's going to happen. The other new move is forward 3+4. I think that's the wall splatting move that we saw in the trailer, and there's no way to tell whether or not this is going to be good. It looks like it maybe has major crush properties and is good at the wall, but it's a move where we need frame data to be able to say, you know, what it's going to do. So honestly, I think that they've taken a character who's already one of the weakest characters in the game, and they've ruined her two most powerful aspects. And I would be surprised if there's a single Eliza player left in the world after Season 3 comes out. And I know that sounds very pessimistic, and I'm sorry about that. You know how much I love this character, and I try to be positive on this channel, but I'm just trying to, you know, be really sort of frank and honest with how I view these patch notes. But I definitely hope that I'm wrong, and if I've missed something important here that you want to point out to me, then please do, because I want there to be hope for this character. But it's very, very strange how some of the worst characters in the game seem to get worse, when some of the best characters in the game just seem to get better when we get a new balance patch. But let's move on to the next character. Luckily, we get to end on a positive note today as well, because Alisa has seen some really interesting buffs, and I think it's funny with her. Namco change her quite a bit with each new update. They keep making her gradually better, and it seems they don't really know exactly what they want to do with her, but they keep improving little things, and she changes. And I think, you know, every single time we get a new version of Alisa, it's the most solid version of Alisa that we've had so far. But let's start at the top with forward 3-2. This is the only sort of straight up nerf that I saw. This is your very fast, I think, 14 frame to impact whiff punishing launcher, where you need to do a follow-up with destructive stance 2-1, and you get 58 damage. This has taken a 6 damage nerf, so it's going to do a total of 52, I guess, in the new season. And so it's going to feel a lot less like a 14 frame launcher and more like a very high powered 14 frame block punisher that gives you some guaranteed damage. So that is a nerf. This move was great after a sidestep, especially at the beginning of the round when you are at the center of the stage and you know you're going to have enough space to follow up with the destructive stance fly-in moves. But apart from that, like I say, it's pretty much all good stuff. So next, 3-2. This is where she kicks you once and then stabs you in the gut with a chainsaw. This has been brought down to 13 frames to impact, and it's a natural string, which means that I think this is your new go-to 13 frame block punisher. So you have a completely new punisher here. This does good damage, it has decent range, and you get access to destructive stance, and it's going to give you +5 when it connects now. So really quite respectable and very nice. It's -12 on block now though, which is a nerf, and that is to make up for the fact that it is faster and that it is a high damage punisher. So it makes sense for this to be unsafe now, but -12 is reasonable. So I think overall this move is a lot better, and you're going to use it for punishment in the new season. Next, Forward 3, 1+2. This is the one Elisa change that I'm the most interested in. And I'm going to explain why. This is the move where she kicks you once and then she does a cross with the chainsaws and sort of, slices you with both hands. And it has the same animation as that new Power Crush, by the way, the down forward 1+2, that she also has access to from Destructive Stance. This is going to be turned into a spin move in the new season, which is very interesting. I play tested this yesterday and I compared this move to all the other spin moves that you currently use in her combo. So 2-4, back 2-4, down 4, 1+2. This move does more damage than all of them, so it might be your most powerful spin move in the new season, and that means that we might have the potential for completely new Elisa combos. They've changed her combo game many times, but the changes have never really come through, and she tends to do the same staples that she has for almost all of Tekken 7. But I think finally this could be the change that allows you to mix up her combo game and get more creative and find new bread and butters, and I think that's great. She has famously struggled for combo conversion capabilities. She gets good damage if she does her staple, but she's sort of locked into that, and if she tries to change it in any way, sometimes she has to sacrifice a lot of damage and just tank it down to the low 50s just to be able to get a wall splat. So I think this is potentially very interesting, and it's going to be a lot of fun to go into practice mode and try and find, new staple combos that use this for a spin move. Next, the down forward 1+2, which is that Power Crush with the same animation. This is also turned into a spin move, and it has more range now, and it has slightly better frame data. This was already a great move, so it's very interesting, but it is nice to have a high-powered single hit spin move. There might be a lot of cases where you want to use this. Say, for example, you do a lot of filler and then you just barely clip them with this and you get a spin. Maybe you need a single powerful hit for a spin after a side wall splat when you're converting and so on. This move already gives you that guaranteed destructive stance down 1 on the floor as well, so again, it's already a good move. And now it's going to be even better and maybe used in combos. Probably not. I think the forward 3 1+2 is probably going to be used in combos. But it's a cool change. Next, up forward 3-2. This move, that's the one where she jumps up and then jumps off your chest and then vaults back and then dives down with the Superman punch. This has been brought down to 17 frames to impact, which means that you can now use it because it's natural as a block punisher for pushback moves, which is really big. Again, I tested this yesterday and this has really good range. The range is massive and it's better than the range on most of your other long range punishers like 4-2, for example. This has much better range than 4-2. So pushback moves that are -17 or more, this is going to be a very, very good punisher for you. So definitely try that out when you have those pesky pushback moves hitting you. Next, destructive stance. Forward 1, that's the fast jab with the chainsaw where she just jabs you in the throat with it. And this is going to go from ±0 on hit to +2 on hit, meaning you can now gain some momentum with it, which is really cool. It's your fastest destructive stance move and very useful already. And now it's quite a bit better. And then destructive stance down 2, which is the low where she spins around, her torso rotates. It's going to impact a little bit faster to make it slightly more difficult to see. 4 frames is actually quite big in that sense, but it's still going to be comfortably in the seeable range, especially offline, and then 2 frames better on hit block. So it's not a massive buff to this low, but it currently sees almost no use over the down 1, so it deserves to be looked at in my opinion. And then your electric sidestep, so that's when she, flies to the side with her jetpacks when she has the chainsaws out. She has that one, that move where she cuts horizontally with the chainsaw after the slice. And that's been turned into a wall bounce move, which is very, very cool. When people connect with this, it's going to look awesome because she's going to fly to the side, with this dramatic animation and evade something that the opponent does. Slice them and, slap them into the wall. They're going to bounce and then she's going to combo. It's going to look like some sort of superhero movie and it's going to be really, really awesome. Maybe useful. It's difficult to tell. This technique, electric sidestep, doesn't see that much use, but it's very good and very evasive. And of course, you can do it after, boot stance when you fly in with chainsaws. You can still do this sidestep, but it is -13 on block to make up for the fact that it now has wall bounce. But wall bounce for a move that is good at the wall is a massive buff because it basically doubles the damage. So it's really, really good. And then I have a yellow change here. Hop kick, both hit travel less forward. and so she's not going to jump as much forwards when she does her hop. She's going to jump more sort of into the air, and this could be, you know, something that makes the move feel like it has worse range, which won't be cool. And it also doesn't have super good range right now. It's sort of half decent. But if you think about moves like, for example, Brian's orbital, a lot of those moves where you jump into the air, you know, butterfly edge, you kind of don't want to travel forward all that much, because it allows you to trap the opponents and allow them to, you know, walk into the animation. And so it can actually be something quite useful, and it can also make the move potentially slightly more difficult to punish, especially on whiff, because you're not going to jump towards the opponent so that you're right in their punish range when you whiff. You know, like Claudio's hop kick, for example, he does that, but because he doesn't move forwards at all and it still has good range, it's very difficult to whiff punish him properly, because there's such a big gap between you and the opponent. So that could be both good and bad, and so it's something that needs to be looked at when that move comes out. And then we have the new move. I thought that this was going to be back 4-4. It turns out I was right about the notation. Back 4-3 is the, you know, the counter hit knee. It's a natural string and a decent punisher that you have right now, and a pretty good move. And now you have another extension here. That is the move we saw in the trailer. It's probably going to be used as a conversion tool for splatting people to the wall, so you can do your normal combo, spin, maybe with your new spin move 4-3-1 plus 2, run up and then do back 4-4, and she's going to do that backflip thing and send them nice and high damage, healthy high wall splat, and then you have plenty of time to run in and do your wall combo. And this has the option of based on the notations, this is my guess, you have the option of flying forward, doing boot stance, or if you want to, getting chainsaws out and flying forward. And it could be interesting to see, because this is something you could do in Tag 2. I don't know if it's going to work in Tekken 7, but if you do that really high wall splat after back 4-4, you fly forwards and then you do that 1-2-1 3+4, whatever, it's that really long 4-hit or 5-hit string. You could actually get that maybe as a potential wall combo after converting with the back 4-4, and that could be dramatic to look at and really high powered. But even if you don't get that, you know, probably you just don't do the fly stance, you do the conversion, and then you run up and you do your standard wall combo, which is already high damage. You have 4-forward 1+2 2, you have 1-2 forward 1+2, you have 4-forward 3-4-3, I think is the notation for that spinning kick wall combo that she has. So really cool stuff. I hope her combo game is going to change. If you like Alisa, she's going to be better in the new season, and it's very interesting overall. So my conclusion is hopefully more flexible combos, you have better punishment, and you're nerfed in almost no sense at all. I mean, a couple of things were nerfed, but the things that were nerfed were also improved in some other way. So this is by far the best version of Alisa we've ever seen in Tekken 7. And that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching so far. I'm probably going to wait until the patch actually comes out before I start talking about other characters. And I hope that's okay, but I really want to see some of these changes in the game. It's an exciting time to be a player, and I know we're all looking forward to September 10th. But for now, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video.